Welcome back to CT 22. Senator Chris Murphy is joining us now. And Senator, we appreciate you being with us here on CT 22. Certainly a lot to talk about on this Sunday morning. I want to first begin with this Supreme Court decision, an unusual way for the world to find out a midweek Politico scoop, a draft that was being circulated at the court. But nonetheless, a lot of people thought this is how ultimately the ruling would go. What was your reaction when you heard that news?
I mean, first, it's just heartbreaking on behalf of women and families all across the country. The idea that abortion is now going to be criminalized in the majority of states, but not surprising. I've been watching Republicans pack the Supreme Court over the past few years with, political figures that are and were intent on allowing states to criminalize abortion. So I expect that you will, see maybe not the exact words in the ruling that was leaked, but you will see a ruling that will overturn Roe v. Wade and Casey, and almost automatically overnight, half of the states in this country will make it a crime to get an abortion. Many, even in the case of rape and incest. In Connecticut, it will still be legal. We'll protect that right, but that won't be the case for millions and millions of women and families all across the country. And I guess my first reaction is just devastation on their behalf.
The Democrats have control of the Congress as it stands right now and of the White House. So is this something that perhaps the Congress is going to be looking to do? And do you have, as a party, the votes to get that done? We may be talking about things like changing filibuster rules.
We don't have the votes right now for that reason. Right now, you need 60 votes in the Senate to pass something like the codification of a woman's right to choose, and we don't have 60. We do have 50 votes for that kind of measure in the Senate, but we don't have the votes to change the rules. We're probably only one or two senators away from having enough votes to change the rules. So, this election will be pivotal. Voters should get to go to the polls this November and choose if they want to elect a Senate that's going to protect right to a safe and legal abortion. So this issue is going to very clearly be on the ballot in Connecticut and all across the nation in just a few months.
One thing that you commented, I saw online on social media, was that there was not as much reaction to the meat of the decision from Republicans, and you thought that was telling. Why did you think that?
Well, I think Republicans know how deeply unpopular this decision is. I was just looking at polling earlier today, suggesting that by a 3-to-1 margin, Americans do not support the Supreme Court criminalizing abortion. So Republicans, although this has clearly been, part of their platform for a long time, are now kind of coming to terms with the fact that they may lose a lot of elections because now it's a question not in the courts, a question in the Congress, in the legislatures. And now more than ever, women are going to be going to the polls and saying, I'm not electing anybody to Congress that's not going to support protecting the right to make choices over my own body.
Just one more question on this topic, and then I want to move on. But a lot of people in Connecticut, a state that's codified this right in our statute, might say, well, if Texas wants to do it or Mississippi wants to do it, let them do their thing. Just for people who maybe don't follow this issue as closely until it pops into the headlines, what's your message on that?
Well, except that everybody in Connecticut has friends in Florida, has relatives in Texas. So it is true that in our very small geographical area, Connecticut will be able to protect a woman's right to make choices over her own body. But, on behalf of, all of our friends and relatives spread out throughout the country, there's a real risk. And of course, for the time being, we have a legislature and a governor in Connecticut that will not criminalize a woman's right to choose. But now, that future is even up for grabs in Connecticut in a way that it wasn't prior to this decision.
I want to shift gears now to Ukraine, and you called what's happening right now a hinge moment for the world. What did you mean by that, and how does it affect what's happening in Ukraine?
We've taken for granted the fact that over the last 75 years, great powers, big powers, have not sought to change their borders through invasion. I worry that is changing and that other countries like China are watching what Russia's doing right now and hoping that Russia gets away with it. China would love to take over Taiwan, would love to take over other islands that it contests with neighboring nations. And I think Joe Biden has gotten this right. I think he has caused Vladimir Putin to pay an enormous back-breaking price for this invasion. And my hope is that other countries like China are learning a lesson right now. But I think it is a pivotal moment, because if we get this wrong, if Russia gets away with this, it may not be the end. You all of a sudden may have more big powers invading smaller powers, putting the whole world at risk.
You applauded the president's decision to ask for even more aid, to send more aid, more dollars to help Ukraine in its fight. But some have raised questions about things like Javelin and Stinger missiles, and if it could be depleting the U.S. stockpiles. Do you think that should be a concern for Americans, that our defense may suffer because so much is being sent overseas?
It should be a concern, but in fact, most of the military aid that the president is requesting in this $33 billion supplemental is, in fact, to replenish American stockpiles that have been winnowed due to our very quick transfer to Ukraine. So we're actually going to appropriate money to do both things, to buy on Ukraine's behalf more material so that they can win the war, but also have the resources to replenish our own stocks. Because, yeah, we have to do both. Now, we're also going to have to, really dramatically increase the pace of manufacture of javelins and stingers and anti-missile systems. So, this is an expensive endeavor. There's no doubt about it. It's expensive in many ways. The taxpayers are going to have to put up money for this. Gas prices are going to be high for a while. So there's no doubt that there's a cost to supporting Ukraine. I just think, and I think my constituents in Connecticut agree, it's a cost that's worth paying right now.
We only have about 30 seconds left. I just want to touch on COVID. You announced about 10 days ago that you have been positive. A lot of talk in Washington, a lot of big names, people who have been in a big event there saying that they had it. How much of a buzz is it, and are you worried about another big surge?
Well, I think we're in the middle of a big surge right now. I think we're lucky that we have vaccinations and treatments that mean less people are dying and less people are going to the hospitals. But yeah, everybody still has to remain vigilant and just make sure you're boosted, make sure you're vaccinated. And if you do get it, don't mess around. Do the 5-day isolation. I did it, my family did it, and that's what controls the spread.
All right, Senator Chris Murphy, thank you for being with us here on CT22. We look forward to having you back again in the future.
Thank you.
That is our show, CT22 for this week. We had all sorts of big Mother's Day plans, but sometimes the news is the news. So we'll just leave it at this. Have a happy Mother's Day. We'll meet you back here in Studio A next Sunday morning.